Hey, where's our song? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 1 of American Crime AfterBuzz. I'm your host, Erica Jaye Green. And where's our song?
No, it's.
I thought the song came out there.
Go ahead and cut it.
Hey, we're finally back to talk about Season 3 of American Crime, Episode 1. So hang out with us.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
It's that first thing, that one. Yeah.
This is the perfect choice.
That was a good choice, Erica.
Again.
Yeah.
Hey, I just play a little bit. Luda. Hey,
I know,
but now
I'm
about the rap,
missing
y'all
Luda.
thought I was.
We're dating ourselves now.
Uh,
Luda not old.
we are back. Finally, it feels like it took like a year for us to get back to seeing American Crime Season 3, Episode 1.
It's about time.
Finally,
Yes.
doesn't it
Yeah.
feel like shows these days, as great as they are, it's taking like forever
It's
to
like
see them again?
they give you like 5 episodes and they're off for 3 years and they come back with a season 2.
Exactly. I'm
Yeah.
like, we'll forget about the characters in
Yeah.
the show.
That's because we binge watch everything now, though. You know, you got Netflix, Hulu, all of that.
That's right.
That's
but
true.
Finish
That's
it in
true.
one night, you're good.
I just need maybe a little preview, maybe little snippets every
Something to
now
keep
and
you
then.
going. It's a good thing we have this after show to keep everybody going.
Yes,
for sure.
you can rewatch us several times, as many times as you want, and you can follow me, Erica Jaye Green, your host for tonight, on all social media, Erica Jaye Green, and my lovely co-host over here.
She's talking about me. She's doing,
Well, ladies,
you are,
ladies
you
first.
are lovely, honey. Thank you. I'm
Ladies.
excited to be here. I'm Brooke Soliz, and you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, you name it, at Brooke Soliz, SOLIZ as in zebra TV.
And you can find me, Joshua Johnson, all over social media at JJ the Talented.
So yeah, guys, okay. I know some of us saw season 2, which was really good.
Really
we know
good.
we're gonna get a whole different storyline every season. So just to recap, last season ended with a lot going on, but we never actually found out like the truth. So anybody who hasn't watched it, don't listen to the beginning of this recap because we're gonna tell a little bit about it. So what did y'all think at the end of season 2? I know you saw it. You're
So
gonna have
I'm
to
the
catch
only
up.
one
Well, cover
who
your
didn't
ears.
see season 2, but I'm a big fan of American Crime now, so I'll cover my ears. It's okay.
Well, no, it's fair. We're not gonna really tell
There's
you
nothing
anything.
to really spoil
Because they don't tell
at the end
us
of season
anything.
2 because it kind of ended where we weren't sure. It could have gone several ways.
Yeah, that's so confusing. I really hope this season doesn't end like that, but we'll see. I mean, it's kind of intriguing in a way because you're left to figure it out yourself.
Yeah, and draw your own conclusions, basically.
Exactly, but I kind of, audience, we like to be spoon-fed a little bit.
want it to be
like,
spelled
give
out
it
for
to
you.
us, like,
Did
what's going
John
on.
Ridley do the same in season 1 as well? I heard that it was kind
Yes.
of left open-ended.
Yes.
That's kind of his thing.
Season 1, so we talked about this, I thought
Season
it
one's
was
good.
riveting. I mean, straight from the beginning, it just had me captivated. It was
Mm-hmm.
really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So of course it came back. So yeah, I mean, season 2 was amazing. This is a whole different storyline. We do see some of the same characters like Felicity Huffman, Regina King, who is phenomenal, but they're playing different roles.
And that's what I love about this show
Yeah.
is the fact that the actors are so good that they can just change characters they're completely different every season.
Yes.
And you forget about who they were before because
Exactly.
they're so in the roles. And so shout out to casting for that, for casting these special actors who can definitely draw us into whatever story they're portraying.
Exactly. You see different sides to them
Yeah, and I
and
love
pull you in a different way.
Exactly. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into the episode. I love how they had, I think his name was Benito Martinez, who plays Luis Salazar. He's playing the Mexican role that he was so against last season. You remember he was against the immigrants. He was against them getting work here. I
that's
found
right.
it very interesting that this season they're going to have him play a Mexican immigrant. I wonder if they go in when the writers are writing in the writing room or John Ridley when they're creating the different seasons, do they keep that in mind? Is that something that they wanted us to kind of see, you know, like the same guy playing this different character, a different side of it, so he can too, that character too can explore like what it's like actually being, because he was like in season 2,
Right,
he was one of those Mexican, we talked about like trying to pass in your society. I don't know. I put on the voice.
Trying to
trying to
Trying to assimilate.
exactly.
He wanted to make
Exactly.
sure his kids had, you know,
The best,
opportunities
yeah.
and the best. So he wanted to make sure to keep them from the dark side.
Right,
and
right.
for him, that meant to be like the gangsters, the cholos, and
Yeah.
all that kind of thing. He was trying to keep them off the streets. And
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I didn't see season 2, but right now I feel like his character is the most well-rounded and really the most riveting to me so far. 'Cause
Really?
you
So
kinda-
far?
Yes. and of course, the young girl who plays the prostitute, I think, too. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm still kind of trying to figure out what his motivation is, where he's coming, why he wants to go to North Carolina, for example. And I know we'll get
Yeah.
into that, but I feel like he has some good acting chops.
Yeah,
He
no,
does.
he's
He-
phenomenal.
Yeah.
All the actors, kudos to all the actors on American Crime because we're nominations. Can we get some Emmy nominations?
They've had a
Everyone
lot-
though.
they had
a
They
lot of
did.
nominations.
Regina King won, but it's like I need everyone on that show to get something.
It's
Seriously.
an amazing
Type
show.
of-
I think I got him figured out already. But
Yeah.
we don't have
No,
to go
you
into
see,
that.
you would
Look,
think
I'm one of those
that.
people like I got it from the beginning.
No, you would think that.
I have it
He's the
all
person that
planned
you
out.
sit with, you're watching the movie or whatever. He's like, this is what's
Yep,
gonna happen.
Throw popcorn at
it's
him.
him. It's him.
To be honest, guys, at the beginning of this episode, and like I said, I was a huge fan from season 1, and they came out with a punch to me with the very first episode. And this episode to me was kind of ran a little slow, but that's okay because season 2, the first episode ran a little slow, but it definitely picked up and gave us like what we wanted, what I wanted. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
But this episode to me was a little bit all over the place with introducing the characters and they slapped us in the face with exactly what the storyline, of course, is just human trafficking. So I don't know, what did y'all think about tonight's episode?
It did tackle a lot in one episode. I think it tried to introduce us to a lot of all the storylines as far as we know and all the characters. It may have started off slow, but I think that'll be all right. We just need to let the story settle in a bit and play out. I don't think it's going to be slow all season, definitely. I think it's going to be just up to par with season 1 and season 2, where we'll have a good season. But I think they try to kind of show us everything. And you know what? We don't know if what they're showing us is actually maybe the storyline that's going to play out through the whole season yet.
I
If
think
some of these storylines are going to play out all the way.
Yeah, I think what I've seen so far is that there's one main underlying parallel theme. We have obviously this girl who's entangled in human trafficking. We have the undocumented immigrants who, in a sense, are paid
trafficking.
slaves. I hate to
Yeah.
say that, but it's true. Think about their
Indentured
conditions.
servitude, yeah.
Indentured servants. And then we also have this kid who is in the middle of, this opioid epidemic that's happening across America, and in a sense is a servant to that drug as well. I think that there's the same theme that all of these people are essentially like servants to
Yeah.
whether it's crime or whatever it is, and trying to kind of find themselves, and that's kind of what I see right now.
And I definitely think they're being victimized, that they're being exploited because
Yeah,
other
good
people
word.
know
Exactly.
that they don't have much. So they'll do, like when they were offering $20 a day, and that was okay. People who live on $20. Who can live on $20? I can't live on $20 an hour. Or,
Yeah,
yes, I can. I can stretch to 20. I'm
You
lying.
even see it's harder to see it on this upper echelon, but you even see the exploitation of the farm owners themselves when they go and talk to the big corporate guys, and
Yeah.
they're like, well, this is
Yeah.
what we need,
Yeah.
so this is what you got to do. So then they got to figure it out, and there's a lot of class themes, of course, and you kind of see the dichotomy of all of that.
Yeah.
But
See, I already love you, Brooke, because
good
I'm
point.
going to need you to bring in those details, and then it jogs my memory to seeing those, because with American Crime, you have to pay attention to the details.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning of the episode, there was a 911 called in Spanish made.
Right.
And what's crazy to me, my first thought was, I hate to say it with everything going on right now, the last people I'm calling are the cops. Honestly, if I'm in trouble, I mean, with everything going on, you know, in our community, a lot of our people are getting killed, and honestly, how I feel right now, and I hate to say that because I shouldn't feel that way. I'm not, you know, I'm not a criminal.
but it's a reality.
But that's the last people. So I wonder in their mind frames, because I know there's a lot of people who are evil, and they think they can get away with this. Well, you're undocumented, so how can you go to the cops? So I thought it was interesting that they started off this episode with the 911 phone call, which I'm sure they're going to open up.
Right.
They're going to open up the storyline why that phone call was made throughout the season, but. I'm just, you know, I'm looking. Those details, you have to pay attention to those.
Figure out. And obviously it was a Mexican, because he was speaking Spanish, or Latino. I gather Mexican, since they're crossing the border. But yeah, all of those little nuances, I think John Ridley, to have brought this out in 2015, you would think that he had made this for now, for our day and age. I mean, it fits in perfectly with what's going on in the world. And in our political atmosphere, but for him to have already been thinking about those things and those political divides and those racial divides back then. I mean, this has been going on forever, let me tell you. But
because
this
it's
is so
not new,
appropriate.
really.
Yeah, it's not new.
Yeah,
I mean, years, but
Yeah.
this is really appropriate. So
That's what I've had that thought. And also with everything going on, you know, with the immigration laws with our new president.
I know I can make this show about Trump all day. We're very.
I'm not going to even go there. We're not going to do that.
I know.
Let's not.
So, but no.
But you know what? We do have to talk about some of that,
We
because
do.
they all play a part, and he's making a statement by the choices that he makes with his characters and the choices that these characters make about America, because this is America's narrative. That's what he's showing us through American Crime. So
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. They're showing a lot of what goes on, like, that we don't know about with the immigrants. Like, I mean, stuff that we know about, but actually seeing them, like when they showed the picture of the guy laying in the ditch, the immigrant that obviously was had fallen, a dead guy that was laying in the ditch, and the character, he went by that and he just looked at it long and hard, that he was obviously on a mission. I was wondering, was that put in there because everything right now that's going on in our politics with the whole immigration, was that put in there to show us like the side of immigration, like these are human people, these are human beings, you know? These are actually people with lives. They kept asking him, "Where's your family? Where's your family?" That was like an ongoing question that was being asked to him, and it was like, so do you think John Ridley and the writers are trying to humanize these immigrants more for us at this time? Because I think, to me, it feels like something happens, they get in that writing room, and they're putting it out.
I do think he and his writers are trying to show us the harsh realities of what really happens with illegal immigration and the conditions that these guys work in, and the sacrifices they make to provide for their families or see their families on the other side or whatnot, and of course the injustices that occur and how people take advantage of that.
This is happening every day, and just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. You said, like, how can you live on $20 a day or $20 an hour? Like,
$20 a month, I done
on
it.
a lot less. People are living on a lot less,
hard out
and
here.
that's their reality. And also, I think people in this episode are doing. I think in every storyline they're doing what they feel they have to do. Even when it comes to the people who are the owners of the farm, they feel like, okay, well, you know, our margins are getting crunched. We have to do what we have to do.
The struggle is real.
Because they're competing
is.
with, you know, other bids for the farm, and so yeah, everyone's really
To the point of exploitation.
to the point of exploitation.
So let's move to Regina King's character,
love
Kimora.
her.
I love it.
Kimora,
I love it.
Kamara.
Kamara.
I think
Kamara.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure Kimora out. I really am, because Regina King plays such an amazingly strong character last season. I was literally
she did.
blown
Uh-oh, don't
away.
tell me.
I know, we're going to be
Yeah,
giving
this is-
little dues to last season.
No, you can
because
totally
it's-
let it all out of the bag.
Yeah, it's totally different from this season, but we're not gonna like really go into it. But like, she just played, and you brought this up in the beginning, how they give them such different characters from season to season. But this season, she's more kind of like the heart.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like they pick one character out each season to be the heart, to
Or the
carry
conscience,
on. Yeah,
even,
the
right?
heart, the conscience, that person who you really empathize with. But they also like kind of gave us a little inside look into her life too. She was struggling with IVF and trying to have a baby,
little bit.
and she.
What I noticed at first was that last season she was pretty affluent. She, you know, her and her husband and her family, they had money.
Yeah.
This season, the first time that she's on the screen, it seems like she's kind of struggling to pay a cable bill.
We've been there.
So that was my first view of her, everyone's first view, and I was like, okay, that's a stark difference from last season. But then as it went on, when it came to IVF treatments, that costs a lot of money too. So maybe we'll find out more in that story about where she is financially. But that was the first thing I noticed, was that, hey, this is a lot different than her character last year in terms of money.
Yeah. Something that really stood out to me, because I work in type of a field that does with like social works and stuff like that, how she could not pay a bill as simple as the cable bill, the internet. And I'm a caretaker. So these government jobs that you're trying to help people, and they don't pay anything, and they expect you to make a living and do these complicated, hard jobs. You're coming here speaking with people who've been through in her case, sex trafficking, and have really gone through rough times. These are tough jobs. I don't know. I have a friend who works at a shelter. She tells me just like some of the stuff that goes on, and it just blows my mind. And then it's like, well, how much you get paid? $10 an hour.
Yeah.
In California, how do you expect that doesn't add up to me. And to me, watching her struggle like that, and then immediately the next scene was that we saw her was her going in there and doing her job. I just don't see how that equates to society. I like government. I know a lot of these programs are funded by government, but I think that they really showed us that for a reason.
Right, and not only does she have to worry about her own finances, but her job is emotionally intense, and so she has to take on these cases that you can get really entangled emotionally, and bring that. It's tough not to bring that home and have that in your life away from work. So I empathize with people who have to do that and make ends meet at the same time, and that's their source of income.
It's like a struggle on struggle.
I know. Yeah. You know, my mom actually worked for Children's Protective Services. That's what we call it in Texas. Here, I think it's DCS.
I'm from Texas.
Ah, nice.
Dallas.
All right. Same family there. And she did this for a very long time, and you know, I'm sure you can imagine how difficult it is when you see what these children go through, abuse, sexual abuse, you name it, and of course they're underpaid. I find that a lot of women, especially minority women, primarily Latinas and African American women, go into social work because they have experienced those injustices and they want to fight back, even knowing that they're not getting paid as much. And men too. I'm not going to leave the men out.
The stress. Do you think the stress that she's dealing with is affecting her having a child? Because as women,
absolutely, I'm sure.
Her ability to get pregnant.
So I wonder why. Well, I'm sure they're going to show us why they chose to like show us her hardships and like that. But it's just something needs to change. Like seriously, like I really don't understand how we have football players making millions of dollars throwing the ball, and then we have people saving people's lives making pennies. Like literally, it's heartening to me when I'm okay with it because I'm one person taking care of myself. But when I think about people with families making nothing. For really trying to make a difference, because that's why I think we're supposed to be here, to make a difference on this earth. And it's just, I'm sorry, that's just something that like jumped out at me.
I feel like people in social services do not get paid enough, do not get enough credit. I mean, it's so hard what they do, and of course, it's these big corporations who are in effect taking advantage of a lot of these people. Back to the opioid epidemic, which I know we'll talk about more. Who are kind of raking in all the money and finding all the tax loops and all that stuff that's going on. I know I'm so politically minded, but I mean, it just is our time. Thank God, though. I really think, I was talking to my mom the other day about how I'm glad that we're no longer talking about the Kardashians, for example, and now we're talking about things that actually matter and affect us in the world.
We're sprinkling in all that other BS.
Yeah. Which makes me surprised that American Crime is on ABC. Because, normally these types of politically activated types of shows are on like Netflix or more like documentary style shows. So it's nice that this is mainstream because people need this.
Yeah, and they also introduced Sandra. Oh, yes,
Sandra
back on TV. She's one of the other social workers. I love Sandra Oh, guys.
She has a home at ABC.
Grey's Anatomy
I think
fan.
that put her
I mean, I always thought she was a phenomenal actress. They didn't really give a lot of insight into her, what her role is going to be in here. I kind of saw beforehand, I read articles that they were going to have her on there. And I was just elated because it's Sandra freaking Oh,
It seems recurring. I don't know if she's going to be in there every episode. and I really can't tell from this episode, but to me it seems like it'll be, we'll see her here and there.
Yeah, there's so many characters.
She
that
was
they
the
have to-
head of the shelter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stressed out shelter worker.
There is not enough room. I think this is the ongoing problem within shelters, homeless shelters, children shelters, shelters for women who are abused and stuff. There's never enough room in our. What's the solution? What like?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the question. It's hard.
I think
There's never enough money
the
to
big
go around.
governmental question. That,
We're worried. I feel like
I
we're
don't know
just
if the
worried
president's
about.
going to be able to answer, but
Girl, stop.
but
Girl, stop.
you know what else? Actually, another theme that I noticed was because you talked about victims, them playing the victim, and then a lot of these characters not saying that, hey, I'm not the victim,
Yeah.
and not even understanding whether or not they're the victim or not. Like the first guy that Regina
It's
or
like I'm not a
Kimora,
victim. Yeah.
he was like, no, I choose to do this. He doesn't even realize that he is a victim of this institutional. I don't even know what the word is, I guess, for him when it comes to sex trafficking, but that's something that's been ingrained in him. He thinks he's making a choice and he doesn't. I'm sure
Yeah.
the same thing with the young prostitute.
Girl, yeah.
Yeah. To me, I don't know. I mean, since you did bring her up, I'm thinking about the very last scene before
The hotel room?
in the hotel room, and it was almost like her when she was put in these situations, she was enjoying them. And I don't know if they're showing us different aspects of sex trafficking. Like some people do these sex jobs because they enjoy it. But I really don't know her storyline. I don't know why they set that scene up like that. But to me, that's what it looked like. I don't know. What did y'all get from that?
Well, some
And
people
her
have
whole
to,
character, because she was trying to recruit another girl, and
Right,
she
right.
was,
Yeah.
she just, her dealings within that world and that realm seemed just way different from the other characters. And I'm just trying to figure out why
I
her
think that
storyline was
sometimes
even
when
introduced.
people are in a situation like that where you don't really have any options, you kind of learn to make the best
Cope.
out of your situation. Exactly,
Yeah.
cope, right? And that may
coping
be her
mechanism.
way of coping.
Yeah.
Like I said, at the same time, she might be thinking that she's making this choice on her own when really
Exactly.
she doesn't really have any choice. And of course, she has this guy who's telling her what to do, and so it might just be a coping mechanism.
Did anybody get who he was in relationship to her?
Her pimp, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay.
just her. They didn't know
Yeah,
each
I
other
don't know.
before.
Yeah,
I didn't
she
get-
could have been a runaway at some point, answered an ad on Craigslist. There's many ways you can get into sex trafficking, but at the end of the day, the recurring theme is the people who end up in this position definitely go through a brainwashing to really believe that they're still in control, and they have no control. They still believe they're making these choices. They're not making any choices.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, in that situation where you thought she might have been enjoying it, it definitely could be a coping mechanism.
Like turn a switch
Yeah,
on.
because
in
you
your
have to
brain.
do what you have to do to get through
survive.
that situation
Survive, yeah.
and
I mean,
survive that. It's
Same
traumatic.
thing with the migrant workers as well. If you think about it, they're making a choice to leave Mexico and live in these horrid conditions. But at the same time, they're kind of at the mercy of first the guy. They're like, you owe us, so we have to pay you a certain amount of money, and they have to live in these ridiculous homes or whatever. And I just feel like there are a lot of parallels there too, where they might think they're making the choices, but really it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since we were talking about like the choices being made, I thought it was interesting that there was a common theme of them using people within those communities, like the guy used a girl to go recruit another girl. The character that was played by Richard Cabero, Isaac Costello, he was saying that he was the manager now. You know, he had worked as an immigrant for a while, and now the family made him a manager, so he goes out and he recruits. And knowing the conditions, you know, these are your own people. It takes me back. I did the after show for Roots, and just knowing that history, and just seeing some of the images on there. It's this thing where they put their own. You know what I mean? They put the people
that's
in
how you're gonna
charge.
attract
How
them.
you
Right.
gain their trust, and you make them feel like you care about them by
Right.
putting someone else. Oh, well, you know, we have a leader that's from your own community that's going to watch after your money, but really the money's going back to them, as you
Right.
saw within the immigrants and stuff. I found that very interesting.
It's
It's
no
been
different
happening
from our
all the time.
governmental system.
It's like a politician
your
being on
congressman.
TV.
Everything's
Your
the same.
local congressman,
Yeah.
he's just like you.
Yeah, it's like a politician giving a speech
Exactly.
or a press conference, and they've got someone of a certain ethnicity next to them to kind of draw that parallel. Like, see, I've got this person here
Yeah.
who can relate to you
Make you
as I'm
comfortable.
speaking. It makes you comfortable. It's been happening for generations now. That
Yeah.
you're going to go out and recruit. You're going to use other slaves to get other slaves. You're going to use other prostitutes to get other prostitutes. You're going to. That's how it works.
I don't know. It's just I just don't understand. Like me, I'm a hippie though. You know, I'm so emotional and I just feel so much for people. Even when I'm watching movies, I'm one of those criers because I just can feel so much. I don't know if y'all saw Lion, but I bawled the whole beginning just seeing how the children were treated over there. But I just don't understand how the conditions. You saw the hellhole that he opened the door and was like, this is where we're living. You expect us to work day in and day out in the heat for nothing, pretty much, and then live like this. It just doesn't add up to me. I don't know. It's just.
I mean, it makes you wonder how badly it was where they were previously. But then also, really, I think it's about sacrifice. A lot of people come over and they're willing to sacrifice living in that way to take care of their family back home or send what little bit of money, because that money goes so much further back in Mexico than here. I mean, the same with any other country, any other third world country where people are making literally pennies a day versus, dollars, which is huge for some.
That's why I don't understand with everything going on right now. Why people want to get upset at the immigrants? Tell them to go home. You've been exploiting them. You were okay with it when they were doing jobs that you don't want to do.
Well, and that's the other thing. They're doing jobs that frankly others don't want to do, and others aren't willing to do at that price. I mean, we are, like you said, exploiting them. And I do wish that there was an easier way that these immigrants could come legally and documented, because really they're not only working, but they're paying taxes when they purchase food. They're paying into our society, and they get nothing from it. They don't get any protection. They don't get, anything really. And of course, they're at the mercy of potentially being deported at any time, especially now with what's going on. But I think, and I love that you said that you're sensitive, and this. I think that's the whole point. I hope that's the whole point that John Ridley's trying to get across, is that we see a little snippet of all of the real realities that are going on here in America, and we feel them instead of it always being. I think we're very didactic. We want to teach, like, here's what's going on. Read this, and it's easier to understand and discern what's going on when you can see it and feel it and get the story. I mean, storytelling is the best way to teach someone, and that's what this show is all about. That's why I love this show.
Well, I think, and I, as an artist, because I'm also an actress, I think that's what TV and movies and art is supposed to do. It's supposed to emote some type of emotion out of you. It's supposed to bring, like, if you don't leave the movie theater or after you finish watching the show and you don't feel some type of way, either happy or sad or just
motivated,
something. The job wasn't done. In American Crime, you definitely get the job done. I just want to say, if you want to tweet to us at American Crime ABTV or an Erica Jaye Green, and we'll read some of the questions out, or you can leave comments on our YouTube channel on AFTERBUZZ.
Yeah, and we'd love to get different perspectives from different types of viewers who might be going through similar situations, have questions. I mean, we're only bringing one or three perspectives.
Yeah, our perspective.
Our perspective. Yeah. So it would be interesting to get the perspective of others.
People,
yeah.
Since we're talking about perspectives, I read this article. I was just, doing a little research on human trafficking, and this article was in the East Bay Times. And this was a pimp who just got incarcerated. Charges are brought up against him, and they burned, beat, and shaved women's head within their community of hookers, and the pimps was just deplorable. And even more deplorable, these women didn't leave or, try to. So like you said, you just never know the conditions people are coming from that make them stay in these situations or fear. But he states human trafficking is known as the game on the streets. So I love this episode. I love this season, I'm sorry, because I can already tell it's going to show us, like, different sides of sex trafficking. I mean, we all, like, I don't know. I think of, when I really think of it, I think of the movie. What's the movie where they kidnap girls and they were just selling them overseas?
Oh,
somewhere?
like Taken?
Yeah, Taken. And I never really think of it as being something that goes on right here in America. And I don't think it's common knowledge, like a lot of things are, but it's not things that I don't think we have prevalent in our minds. But just to see, like, this is all this type of human trafficking here in America, different ways, pimping,
Well, I think it happens under the guise of a lot of these girls have substance abuse problems, come from broken homes, maybe were previously sexually abused, and are lost, right? They're homeless, they become homeless, and then they're out of options, or they want that next fix. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them. Or they want to escape in some way, so then they find, just like when someone joins a gang, for example, right? They find a family, someone they think is looking after them, like that. Like he said, that no, that's my cousin. He looks after me. He makes sure I'm cool and I'm taken care of. So you think that you have this protective family, but really you don't realize that you are getting deeper in the game, which is what they want to call it, right?
The game.
The game.
That's so, to me, that's so disrespectful to call. This is not a game. This is people's lives. So for you to be just to underplay it.
But I feel like they kind of analogize it to like drug dealing in a sense. Like you're in the drug dealing game versus it's just a different trick. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not very.
What's so funny is that not that I'm so knowledgeable.
no, I'm not.
I will say that I grew up like in poverty, I guess you could say, when I was younger, and it was primarily Black and Hispanic, and so I did like learn that and not experience firsthand, but
there's a certain
I have
rules,
friends and cousins and uncles. Like I live in this world. I've been around the block, and we know it happens. I was actually reading or watching a story on the Super Bowl a while back, and how they were talking about in Houston, Texas, it's the biggest sex trafficking event
in
of the
Houston,
year.
Texas.
Well, the Super Bowl was in Texas this year.
Yeah, where they were taking people on planes.
Yeah, they were taking people on planes. And so it's happening right under our noses. But, like I said, these women, I guess they potentially convince themselves that, hey, I'm going with my friends, my boo, whoever, and if he's down to get down, I'm down. That's how they see the game. But in reality, what they don't realize is that it is essentially prostitution.
Well, it's been ingrained in them as well. It's been beaten into them. It's been burned into them. So at some point, something switches mentally, where they start to believe that, which is not reality. But it does take some physical force, some deprivation of probably senses and needs. And there's a process they do to get you to that point.
And it happens at every level. I'm gonna say this. I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack from conservatives right now. But I mean, even at the very top, look at Melania and Donald Trump. I'm just saying, I saw an interview where she said, or they asked her, do you think, or would you be with Donald Trump if he weren't rich? And she said, well, would he be with me if I weren't beautiful? I mean,
wow.
That's it at the highest level if you think about it. That's an exchange to me. I see it as a transaction. Yeah. So it happens on every front,
it does,
unfortunately.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I'm just calling
I'm sure everyone knows.
I mean, I might get some flack for that, but I mean,
it's
would
proof
that
is in the pudding. You
situation
see how he
be
treats
the way? I don't know if they have a real relationship.
Did we talk about each of the characters yet?
No, we were just going to get to Connor Jessup, who's playing Coy Henson this year. Yeah. And he was phenomenal last year. He was the main character. He got raped last year. Well, we don't really know. We really don't know. No, honestly, we don't know what happened last season. So, but yeah, his character. So his character was a little vague too. I know he's on opiates. You want to talk about that?
Painkillers.
Yeah, painkillers.
Mm-hmm. It could be one of those storylines where it's there, but we don't know why it's there. I know one thing, just him walking alongside the road, I thought it was Chad Michael Murray at first. Did you get that? I was like, is this the dude from that one show?
One Tree Hill?
Is he in the show now?
Because number one, I love Chad Michael Murray.
With the short haircut.
Yeah. So, I didn't think it was Chad Michael Murray, but I could see
that made me mad. I don't know why that made me mad.
Really? But it was a short hair for him. Last year he didn't have the short hair.
Yeah, he does have a buzz, like Chad Michael Murray.
Yeah.
What?
That was the first thought I had. But yeah, no, that was, I'm just being honest. But his storyline is yet to be seen clearly. Yeah. The guy's really trying to recruit him heavy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it almost seemed like for a second I wondered if it was something else why the captain was recruiting this guy. Mm-hmm. Like if there's some ulterior motive besides working for the farm.
Well, I think with that they were just needing bodies. As far as he knew that he was hard up, he knows the guy. He knows that, like they said, they're looking for the desperate people, the people willing to work for basically nothing. So of course, this guy, he fits the bill. But I'm really interested to know, because he was such a big character last season. Yeah. So I'm really interested to know, is he going to have a big part? Because sometimes they just throw us some characters in there, and we're waiting the whole season, break it open.
Happen with his storyline, and nothing really happens.
I actually think his character is very important. And the reason I think so is because John Ridley, once again, is giving us another splice of another social and class level. This guy is almost in the same boat as these immigrants because of his addiction to painkillers.
Exactly.
Right.
And he's a white
now
male.
and he's a white male. I'm sure when he said, "Hey, I picked tomatoes and I make this much money," and he started laughing at him. What? Are you serious?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have anything, but yeah.
But you're gonna put your nose down at like making a decent buck.
Exactly.
Right. So I think that there's more there. There obviously is more there that we're gonna learn
and explore.
And
Like
explore.
I think it goes along with the same lines of just trying to get those different views. And you have this white male who's falling on hard times just like everyone else.
Exactly.
And we think, I know I do, I would think that they have it easy. He could pull himself up by his bootstrap and get a job, clean himself up and go in there, hey, I want a job, and it's just, here you go.
Or potentially has parents who have,
Who
who have the
a
hookup,
fluid or something.
right?
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This is episode 1 of season 3 of American Crime. We're gonna have to wrap it up, but
No
you can
predictions?
still. Well, okay, let's do predictions. We're gonna do predictions real quick because I really want to hear what you
AfterBuzz
want
TV
to
predictions.
about his line. You have to go first. I
I'm
wanna hear,
predicting?
Yeah, I want to hear
Okay.
your prediction for
Oh
his
my God.
storyline that
For
we're
the
talking about.
painkiller guy,
Yeah.
the one who's hooked
Yeah.
on.
Because
well,
you said you kind of.
I think he. This is totally just
Just
out of
throw it
my
out there.
mind. I think that he falls further because he has this addiction. He gets put on the same level as these immigrants. He might even get in their game, right? Picking or whatever, doing whatever he's doing, and then being subjected to the same injustices. Finally, that some of these minorities are being subjected to, these migrant workers are being subjected to, so that we see that, hey, we're all human, we can all be down at the bottom, down and out.
Exactly.
I think that's what's going to happen, but I think he probably will get in trouble too, because you already know his ego is going to take him somewhere where things aren't going to be right for him.
And egos do have a way of getting us in trouble.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the migrant worker on the bus? And he sees the dead body in the ditch,
Yeah.
and he gave that look. It's almost like, to me, that was a look about he knew something about that situation, because of and these are such great actors, they're phenomenal. But he was able to give a certain look, and it almost seemed like, okay, maybe I'm fleeing. I don't know if this guy is really who we think he is so far, as
Yeah.
being
Oh,
able
yeah,
to get the
there's more
job,
to him,
Because
being
why
able
is
to
he
work.
so intent on going to North Carolina? You're
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
so I
We'll
think
watch
there's
out
something to that, and the fact that remember when the guy was telling him that he owed, and he was really put off by that, but the fact that he paid money already, he had money to give already to get him to North Carolina, and he's thinking like, well, I owe now, I paid money to get here anyway. So
Yeah.
there's definitely more to his story, and I think somehow.
And the fact that he had money to pay.
He
to
had
get
money,
somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. You're right about that.
So yeah.
Well, we'll keep an eye out on his character. My
That,
prediction.
And one more thing real quick. I think somehow the human trafficking, I got a lot. The sex trafficking will somehow play back into the owners of the farm. Maybe one of them is dealing with maybe getting a little extra on the side from sex trafficking.
I can see that.
I can see that too. My prediction, and I'm only going to make this prediction one time because it's the first episode, is that we're not going to even find out by the end of the season.
Oh, no, you don't get to the.
You have to see all the seasons. It blows my mind how they do
Yeah.
this. But I don't know. They might change it up.
I hope Regina comes full circle, though. At least we see like her get something out of this whole season, because she's already
Yeah.
like we said, the conscience and that kind of like
Yeah.
the good person who's trying to help people. And right now she's struggling
Yeah.
to have a baby, so hopefully that works out.
Maybe it's not about the resolution. Maybe after all, it's the story being told, and everyone's story
The
Exactly.
journey.
needs to be told.
Okay.
Yeah.
We getting deep up
All
here.
right.
It's
I know.
unresolved. It's unresolved in our world right now. So why would they
Because-
resolve it?
right.
In the,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. Can I
Because
write
when
that?
is life ever really resolved?
And put that on T-Bags. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. This is season 3, episode 1 of American Crime. I'm Erica Jaye Green. You can find me on all social media at Erica Jaye Green.
And I'm Joshua Johnson. Be sure and keep this conversation going. Give us your thoughts, your perspectives in the YouTube comments. Go ahead and tweet us. Each one of us tweet AfterBuzz. Let us know what you think. You can find me all over social media at JJ the Talented.
Get it, Jay.
And I'm Brooke Soliz TV at Brooke Soliz TV. Definitely message us, tweet us, comment, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching.
And check us out on iTunes. Thank you so much. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.